Anybody here suffer from nomophobia? Okay, basically it's the phobia of leaving the house without your mobile phone. Now I actually really suffer from this badly. If I've left the house and I've got 2 minutes to get my train and I've left my mobile phone, I will go back, I'll miss my train, I don't care. I just need to have my mobile phone with me. It's quite sad, I know. But so rewinding to basically the mobile web and where we are today. In 1999, Nokia were the first company to basically bring out internet-connected mobile phones. And this is kind of key because actually, before this, mobile phones could send texts and they could make calls and that was it. But we've seen such a revolution since then. But they kind of went a bit weird with some of their phones. They got really cool and everything else like that. I mean, this thing is absolutely terrifying when I saw it. But they did actually bring out the best quality, the best phones for many, many years. This phone, absolutely awesome. But then basically in that same year, something else happened basically, well, it's 2 years later in 2007. The iPhone came out, and as you guys know, the iPhone absolutely revolutionized the way things happen. It kind of looked weird when it first came out. I was a bit negative about it. I was a bit like, you know what, this will never kind of be that big. It wasn't very sophisticated, it wasn't very awesome, but what it changed was the fact that suddenly the input device was your finger. You could now suddenly interact with any website almost using something in the palm of your hands. And this really, really changed the way things happened. But what I would say is that this phone was way, way better. It had like 5 megapixel camera, it had Wi-Fi, it had all this kind of technology that original iPhone didn't have. But the next thing that happened really did change things, and that was kind of like the app culture. And that has really changed things today. You probably remember this advert. There's an app for that. Today, on the Google App Play Store, there's nearly 3 million apps. In Apple App Store, there's only 2.2 million. Windows Store, nobody seems to use, and the rest of them, yeah, don't worry. Apparently 60% of apps have hardly got any users actually installed them at all. That means out of the 3 million apps out there, over half of them, people haven't actually wanted to actually install. They're kind of basically crap apps that nobody will use. All the apps on this screen, they're kind of like the bigger apps. They're apps that people have actually care about. The apps that you've probably got 1 or 2 of them on your phone already. My kids' school has got an app, and they sent me a message, and so I clicked in it, and it took me to the app Play Store thing on Google Play Store, and I'm like, actually, I just want to read the message, So anyway, I kind of like pulled it out and tried to click in again, and it actually says, please use the app. It started begging me to use the app, and I'm kind of getting slightly annoyed at this point. I just like, what is the actual message? And then I get into it, and it still says, no, download the app. And the actual message was, there's a science fair on the 26th of March. The point is that any mobile marketing, anything you do, stop thinking about yourselves as being, we want you to use our app, but actually what are you trying to communicate? How are you trying to do it? How do you want to market to the audience? One of the cool things that Google have been pushing is something called progressive web apps. I was wondering why people are laughing at Tinder. There's 2 things here. One of them, these are kind of like the ones that Google actually said were some of their sort of like better progressive web apps. Both of these had a side effect that if you install them on your phone and your wife finds them, you will basically get you have to sleep on the sofa. The air horn is amazing. All it does is a kind of an air horn, and my kids love it. The amount of times they do it to each other is phenomenal. I would demonstrate it, but I don't know how it would go mic'd up. Progressive web apps mean that if you have got your own website and you've got an e-commerce store and you want people to install it as an app and use it as an app, you can basically kind of add a bit of text to it and it will happen. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and I'll explain now. Basically, the pre-WA checklist, you've got to do all these things. And I know that sounds ridiculously complicated, but that's kind of like the best of the best. All you kind of really need is a manifest JSON LD file, which I'll allow you to Google afterwards rather than me trying to explain it now, and a service worker, which is slightly even more complicated. But a service worker means that when your app is offline, it kind of shows the bare basics, it shows the information, and it will still work as a website when you're not connected to the internet. This means people can still browse your web pages, your website, when they're on a tube or when they're on a train or when their connection isn't perfect. It's really, really good. Obviously they can't load live information, but if you've got basic information or you're building a shopping cart, it means it won't reset it and go backwards. Service workers are incredibly powerful. The other side of it is that you might see them sending messages to users. So you can kind of be on a website and it sends you a message saying, hey, there's a special offer here. Obviously, like the thing that I mentioned before, respect your users. If you keep bombarding them with messages, they're going to get really, really annoyed. But To help you with this, Google have produced something called Lighthouse, which allows you to audit it. And the other side of it is this manifest file, which I mentioned before. You basically put this on your website, and it tells Google, tells Chrome, tells iPhones, tells Android browsers how it should look when they add it to their home screen, how big the image is. And if you do this and you have one of these, when people add it to the home screen, it'll act just like an app, just like any other app. So this technology is incredibly powerful. Financial Times, Instagram, that is Instagram, isn't it? Twitter, Pinterest, and even Flappy Bird have their own PWAs. These are great examples of how to do it. eBay are doing one. Google Maps is available as a PWA. They're fantastic stuff. Tinder, as I say, is available as a PWA. No, I haven't actually tried that one. And the other thing is it helps by increasing page speed significantly. Apparently the level of stress caused by mobile phone delays is comparable to watching a horror movie. So, you know, it's quite interesting that, because I don't watch horror movies, but the things that it can't do, there's quite a short list actually. They can't access your contacts, they can't access SMS, they can't do things like proximity sensors and inter-app communication, but so much now, apps can be done, app functionality can be done within a web page, so they're very, very powerful. If you even want more, there's WebAssembly, so you can do literally everything you can do in an app within it, but that requires programming. Alexa. That's Gerry first. In 2011, Siri came out. Siri is, as you know, was like that first really powerful voice assistant. It was incredible when it first came out, and everybody was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. But actually what was interesting was people that were using it in that first 6 months stopped using it in the last 6 months. It was a bit rubbish, and people basically were a little bit frustrated. So all of the people that have tried voice, if you tried it with Siri, you probably didn't carry on using it, you probably dismissed it. But in 2014, the Alexa came out, and this kind of changed things up considerably. Suddenly, this device, I kind of looked at it and I was like, why would I want one of those? It makes a really good Spotify speaker. You can order Just Eat takeaways. You can switch on and off your lights. I've got Yeelight, which is cheaper than Philips Hue because I'm tighter. And of course, Google Assistant. Google Assistant came in, and you know, I think Ryan's explained this, so I'm going to talk through this really fast. But basically, it takes all the information from the web and presents it back to you in this way. The thing is that you have to mark up your web pages so as Google can see it. This kind of makes it look overcomplicated, but all it is you saying that if you've got a hotel, you say where it is. You say that it's got a logo, it's got a description, it's got the opening hours, the features of it. And this looks like really hard code to produce, but actually there's web pages out there, schema creators, which say just copy and paste this onto your website. Google will find it. Google will kind of like bring it into their assistant, bring it into everything else. So as people are browsing on mobile devices, suddenly the engagement is much richer. I'm going to run through this quickly.
I shouldn't be asking questions.
Go on, ask one.
Can you put this into your Shopify store as well?
Yes, you definitely can. Yeah. But sorry, going back. This is how it looks today. This is how it looks today. But you know, was looking today. But this is now how Google kind of take all that information and combine it. They combine so many data sources to present back to you all of the information you could ever possibly think you could ever possibly want on that hotel. There's a great blog post on this. If you go to mobilemoxie.com and have a look at their blog, they have got so much great information on this. The amount of time that I've spent reading that has been phenomenal. This is the other thing that I think Ryan was sort of talking about as well. Google is doing so much more with the assistant. Now with the maps, you can actually get an Uber. By the way, why I found this was when I was drunk once in Brighton. I wanted to try and figure out how to get home, and I didn't realise that I could literally order a taxi there and then. Using Google Maps took me to my house, and the following morning I was almost like, how did I get an Uber without installing the app? I was actually confused by it. But yeah, it works. Basically, more and more is being integrated into assistants and to maps everywhere. It's going to be one single ecosystem. And if you're part of that, you'll succeed. If you're not, it'll be much more challenging. It's the same with things like Amazon. If you're not on Amazon selling products, it's much more challenging for people to find you. I mean, again, going back to what that was saying at the beginning, to be honest, most people I speak to only use their Alexa and their their Google Home and things like that, mainly as a Spotify speaker and to do some other tiny little things. But you know what? Kids, they're kind of using it much more. They're using it in a way that's engaging. And the other kind of sector that seems to be on the rise is actually old people. Old people can't use their thumbs in the same way as younger people, and they're not kind of used to it. Their muscles haven't kind of been doing it for 20 years. So I got my mum, who's slightly older, an Alexa, and she thinks it's the best thing ever. She's ordering products on it. She's doing searches for it. She even figured out how to call me on it, which isn't great. There was a kind of slightly embarrassing situation once where on a radio program somebody said something like Alexa order dolls houses, and suddenly in one part of California, I think it was, hundreds of dolls houses were ordered. Burger King managed to annoy Google by doing a campaign which said, "Okay Google, what is the Whopper Burger?" And it started telling them all the great details about it, and I was like that. I mean, that's a great advertising campaign, and they actually won an award for it. However, Google weren't quite as impressed with them. The other thing which I didn't realise until recently, you mentioned this actually at a previous thing, is the fact that you see where it says Amazon's choice for iPhone case. If I say to Alexa, buy me an iPhone case, that's the one that it will choose. And it will basically say, we've got one for $9.99, do you want it tomorrow? And it'll go, yes, and suddenly it'll arrive tomorrow. I love Amazon Prime, but this shows how integrated Alexa purchasing is going to become into this. Nick, who's actually talking at another event a couple of miles away at the moment, on this exact same topic, I stole his slide, kind of said, anybody can create a skill. It's not as challenging as it looks, and I've actually been playing around with this myself. There's a Code Academy course to learn the incredibly complex programming language, or you can be lazy and use Get Storyline to kind of do a visual one. You can produce a skill yourself for Amazon Alexa if you've got a reason why your users would want to do it. So if you've got something which is a regular repeat purchase, if you've got something which is kind of like a feedback. I mentioned before that you can now buy Just Eat takeaways on Alexa and Google Assistant, but you know what, I don't do that. But what I do is I check where my Just Eat is. So I ask Alexa, is my Just Eat pizza on its way? And they kind of go, yes, it's coming to you at whatever time it's coming. So I use it almost as a notification and engagement, a tracking, rather than just as a purchase device. The other technology that you mentioned was augmented reality. In 2011, it was a bit shit. It was actually quite terrible. And actually, we built, myself and a few friends, we built some games using augmented reality and spinning cubes and QR codes, and we thought it was really, really cool at the time. But looking back at it now, it was pretty terrible. But I did work on a campaign with a company called Contiki, a travel brand. And they basically did 3D videos of people jumping off cliffs, doing virtual videos, and this was phenomenal. You could look around at everything, and this kind of technology shows how it can be applied anywhere. If anybody's working in travel, if anybody's working in an area where maybe they've got photographs of a gin distillery, they can make it three-dimensional. You can start to make this engaging for your users. Think about what your users want to see from your products, and you can take it forwards. I mean, the best example of how augmented reality came into the forefront was Pokemon. The amount of my friends that were playing Pokemon was quite embarrassing. I need new friends. Google did these things. If you've got kids, have a look at this. This was phenomenal. The Back to the Moon, I've forgotten what they're called now. I should know this. But basically, they've got these 3D stories where your kids can watch a movie and interact with it as it goes along. All of these are on YouTube, and they look phenomenal. This still feels like where we are with virtual reality at the moment. It still feels very limited, it feels very clunky. If you're trying to wear it, it's very hot. But the future is phenomenal with that technology. Right, the only other thing I thought I'd mention on this is beacons. Who's got a brick and mortar store? Ah, cool, quite a few of you. Basically, if you've got a brick and mortar store, have a look at what these are. These are called Eddystone beacons. There is an iPhone equivalent and a Google equivalent, but go with Google because they're in the room. They basically mean you can broadcast out information about your website or information about your product. So if people are researching, looking at information, this will kind of say to people in your store, hey, this is the URL, this can do this. And it's like, you don't even need one of these. I've actually managed to put one of these into my mobile phone so I can broadcast it out. I should demonstrate it now, but I'll do it later. Eddystone. And the one other thing about the present is there's a great presentation actually at the Conversions Google 2018. A guy called Craig Sullivan was basically saying that, he was looking at a website that he saw online. It was BA/Gatwick. And he kind of went there, and the whole thing was unbelievably awful experience, and he's basically saying with his massive thumb he can't click on any of these little sliders and clickers and all the rest of it. You know, the present at the moment is terrible for a mobile experience for so many reasons. So, you know, if you're doing your own website, make sure that you think mobile first. 60% of your audience will undoubtedly be mobile, and probably more, even in the B2B section. Trying to predict the future is always really, really challenging. The one thing I would say is the fact that think about your users first. If you think about how your users are interacting with your product, how you're buying your product, how you're kind of trying to sell to them, basically, and find out what you can about them. So, you know, are they using mobile phones? Are they using kind of like headphones? Are they using what sort of experiences work with them? It's very cheap to use. A lot of the technology that I've talked about, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of this technology is not as challenging as it sounds at the moment. It's kind of a case of reading the hacked way of doing it. 3D cameras, the 360 cameras, they're a couple of £100. So, you know, buying them and producing them, being that market leader means that you'll get people talking about you, people engaging with you today, rather than being kind of like the catch-up tomorrow. And that's it. Any questions? Yes. Oh, go on. That's all right.
Oh, sorry, thanks. Hi, wow. Okay, a lot of information.